So how close are we to fascism in America? I would say we're more than halfway there, easily. When you look at the Democratic Party, when you look at the corruption, the corporate corruption that most of the Democratic Congress is involved in, that's the biggest hallmark of fascism, is the government and corporations merging in an enmeshment where it's pretty indistinguishable. So the Democrats have me worried on that front. The obvious threat is that the GOP has an authoritarian in mind. They are willingly subverting democracy. January 6th was an obvious dry run of this, where they were trying to find a way to overturn the safest election in American history. Like we're on the cusp. Like I think we're living through it, because everything I've read says that fascism happens in stages. It's like an unfolding, if you will. So we can say we're in the early to mid range stages of an authoritarian fascism type cycle, political cycle. So, a lot of people aren't seeing it. They're not really paying attention. They want to see it as something you're going to turn off and on like a light switch, like getting rid of Trump was the remedy, which couldn't be further from the truth, because once again, the Democrats share very strong overlap, with fascist traits with the GOP, whether it's like hyper-militarism, whether it's, the racist activity down on the border, the corporatism that we've already talked about here. There are enough red flags from the Democrats. They check many fascist boxes of overlap. And then you have the GOP that checks literally every fascist box there is. Doesn't matter if it's economics, doesn't matter if it's social, doesn't matter if it's political. It doesn't matter. They check almost every box that fascism has to offer us. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being very serious. If you go to the 14 characteristics of fascism, you'll see the GOP checking 13 out of 14 boxes. That was my run, and I think I checked 4 boxes out of 14 for the Democrats. So once again, there is overlap, but there is also distinct separation between the Democrats and the Republicans on like how far each of them are in the fascism pool, if you will. But the problem is the Democrats are in too deep, and they can't really untangle the mess, the toxic bipartisan mess that they have themselves in lockstep with the fascist GOP. Like, I see it like a Weekend at Bernie's type thing, where it's like you have this dead fascist bloated corpse that the Democrats are willfully propping up like it's not dead, like it has some use, or it's still alive or whatever. That's how I see the Democrats dragging us forward into this fascist cycle, because they are so toxically enmeshed with corporate corruption in this two-party duopoly that it's almost like there's no other choice for the Democrats to go forward and fight the Republicans like they never fought before, but it still might not be enough. And the only thing that saved us this last time was that the courts actually held up. Let's imagine for 1 second, if Donald Trump put those 60 plus court cases, to the Supreme Court, saying there was all this, widespread voter fraud and all this other stuff. Imagine if they accepted a handful of those cases, or most of those cases. What would have happened? We would be full on an authoritarian regime right now. Donald Trump would be the president right now in 2021. If our courts were corrupt enough. And to my surprise, they're not that corrupt, because all those cases failed except 1 or 2 on some weird mail-in voting technicality that had nothing to do with voter fraud. They just had something to do with like deadlines or something. But let's imagine, let's entertain the thought that those judges, those court cases that Trump fraudulently brought forward were accepted by the courts. What would our country look like right now? Donald Trump would be president again. You see? So, I mean, I'm kind of glad our courts have lifetime appointments, because he could have wedged some real cronies in there to accept these fraudulent court cases and to totally have the thing rigged. And we could be, like Germany in the 1930s right now, just a corrupt democracy that's easy to overthrow. But our courts held up. But I mean, just let this sink into how close we are. Look at how close it is. Everything lined up except the courts. That is in my opinion, that's a razor thin margin, okay, for authoritarian fascism to strike that deep in America in 2021. Like that's too close, guys. It's too close. We're flying way too close to the sun here, man. But my God, we are on the cusp, and we're still fighting it. The GOP is descending into madness before our very eyes. Go to any threads right now and listen to Republicans. Listen to the absolute insanity. They are losing their minds like I've never seen them before. Just constantly wanting these fraudulent audits when, like, Bill Barr, even AG Bill Barr said there was no widespread voter fraud anywhere. Their own guy who said it, the biggest Trump sycophant in America said there was no widespread voter fraud. And they want to keep gaslighting democracy. They want to keep corrupting democracy and doubting democracy because they're done with it. Okay. It's like we've never seen this before in our lifetimes. We've seen this before in history. We've seen this before in the Weimar Republic. We've seen this before in World War II. But I never thought we would descend this low. Like no one could have foreseen Trump. No one could have foreseen, January 6th. We're really in our uncharted waters and we're flying too close to the sun. So have some awareness that we need to have a united front against American fascism. And don't ever give up. Don't get lazy. Don't be a politically lazy person. Be an engaged person at the local, state, and federal level at all times, because the fight is now.